Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype online. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. We are in the holy month of Ramazan. 7th of May was the full moon, and full moon in the month of May is the anniversary of Buddha, or Buddha Purnima it is known as. On this day, Buddha was born to Shakya dynasty as Prince Siddhartha. 40 years after his birth, on the same full moon day, Buddha attained to awakening. From Siddhartha, he became Buddha, the enlightened one. And once again, 40 years after his enlightenment, at the age of 80, he entered into Mahaparinirvana. So the day is of triple anniversary. These are the three stages that each one of us has to go through. Birth, when does the awakening comes, and then you continue to live in that awakening, sharing the light that you are, sharing the light that you have encompassed within you, light of awakening, that becomes a beacon light that you use to allow the others to attain to this same. On this day, we had been continuing in the final stages of the Heart Sutra. It is one of the most comprehensive yet very small sutra that Buddha gave, not to an ordinary monk, but to the one who was on the borderline. Pierre Charles Hardin, the French philosopher, has spoken of 4 stages of evolution. The first, geosphere, biosphere, noosphere, and Christosphere. The third stage that he calls as noosphere, according to Patanjali, that is a state of wakefulness. First is the sleep, second is the dream state, susupti, third is wakefulness. It is a different kind of wakefulness. It is not the wakefulness of Buddha. It is said that people want to meditate. They choose in the beginning a certain hour is chosen to make your body feel the rhythm, to choose a particular place because all these things create an environment around you. It is like starting your education system. You enter into standard 1, but you do not want to remain in standard 1 throughout your life. You keep on crossing from one standard to another. Meditation is that state of mind when there is no thought arising. And even if thought is arising, they are not bothering you. Remember, thoughts and emotions are like the birds. They keep on flying around you. It is natural. You cannot stop the birds of the thoughts and emotions to fly around. But certainly you can stop these birds to make nest in your mind. When there is no emotional upheaval, you are going through the marketplace, you are seeing the things. There are many things that attract you, bring the thoughts in you, brings the emotion into you. Are these things affecting you, or you are neutral to these? If you are neutral to these, unaffected, you are meditative. There is no particular place or time for meditation. Those who have been in the educational field, it will become very easy for them to understand this. When they were in the earlier stages, they have to have the book, notebook, and things like these to study. But those who are in the field of research, their mind becomes a lab. They do not need a particular place or time to continue their research. Anything they see, they connect it to that. It is said about Albert Einstein, he was a totally clumsy man. One of the person who had been a politician in India, and he had been a follower of my uncle, the Sufi master. So I used to ask him, he has the free access whenever he is visiting London to stay by Albert or visit his house. One day it happened, he went, and his wife Frau told him that he has gone for a bath. So he said, that's no problem, I can wait. He said, you don't know when Albert will come out of the bathroom. This was strange to him. Normally there are people who take a bird bath, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes you may take for shower. But how long will it take? What Albert used to do, he used to go in the bathtub, use the soap, and with the water the soap bubbles used to form. This was the galaxy for him, and that bathtub was his lab. a place for his meditation, because his research was his meditation, no thought, but the thoughts or whatsoever it is relating to his field. This is the stage of Buddha. He is walking, he is meditating. We do things on a day-to-day basis like a sleepwalker. We meditate 1 hour, 2 hours every day, maybe 1 or 2 times. But the awakening must come in you. For instance, you have gone to the kitchen, you have visualized the situation of the kitchen, what condition you have found. You leave it in a better position than you have found it, in cleanliness. If not, the same way rather than the worst. A person comes to Junaid to learn about Marakba, but he slammed the doors fling, and he took off the shoes and they flew in the different directions, and he came and sat down in front of Junaid. He asked him, he told him to go and apologize to shoes. If someone tells you to apologize to shoes, you will find it crazy. Meditation means everything sentient or insentient is pulsating with life. Life, the stone rock, has a different type of life. They are not as alive as. Aliveness is determined in relation to the freedom. Rock has no freedom to move from its place. It remains wherever it is. But it is concentrated energy. If there is some device we can utilize the energy that rock as a piece of stone has encompassed in it, can be used in healing. Then comes the animals. Animals have a little more freedom. They are more evolved, more meditative. They can move, but their movement is only on the ground. They can move from one place to another, but their freedom is still restricted. Then comes the birds. Birds can move on the ground, they can fly in the air, they can soar high in the sky. They are more alive because they have more freedom. Man has more freedom than the birds. Then comes Buddha. He, or the awakened one, or Jesus or Muhammad. These people have more freedom. They are the ultimate in freedom. The purpose of meditative exercise, just as going to the university, entering into the education system, is a certain goal, put it this way, crudely, that you want to attain to a certain degree in a particular field, so you can make your way of life living. So you keep on transcending the ladders moving up the ladder of educational system until you have attained and you come out of the university. You are going through, you had been, even men, at times when there is emotional disturbance, he becomes a stone-like. There are some people lethargic who has more freedom than the stone-like state. They are lethargic, their bodily movement, because their focus is on eating. They are living to eat. So the body becomes incapable to have the freedom of the movement. The agility is not there. These stages, the stone, the animal, the bird, we go through each moment as we traverse through life because of the emotions and thoughts. So emotions and thoughts you cannot avoid. These are like the birds. They keep on flying around you. It is up to you not to let them make a nest in your mind. Up to the third stage, the wakefulness. Those who are in the medical field, they will know when anesthesia is given. In order to know that the patient on the operation table, the anesthesia has worked, he asks him to count. One is very clearly the patient counts, says. The two, the voice becomes a little fading. As it goes 1, 2, 3, up to 3 with a lingering long tone, he can say 3, but 4th he cannot. These 3 stages, the 3 stages, the sleep, the dream state, and wakefulness, they are easy, but 4th is the most difficult one. Patanjali calls it as Turiya. Gurdjieff has called his way as the 4th way. French philosopher Pierre Charles, he calls it as Christosphere, because he used the science and Christianity as his way. Buddha is fair, Krishna is fair. These are the same things. With the third stage, there is a kind of freedom, but that freedom is pseudo. This has to be understood. It is of great importance. At the third stage, you have a pseudo kind of freedom. That freedom is the freedom of choice. For example, you say, my country is religiously free. That means you can choose. You can go to the church or a temple, and the law and the country and the law will not create any trouble for you. You can become a Mohammedan or a Hindu or a Christian, you can choose. The country is free, That means you can choose your life, where you want to go, what you want to do, what you want to say, the choice of expression, the freedom that you can say whatever you like, you do whatever you like, you choose any religion or political affiliation, you can be a communist or a fascist or a liberal, you can be a Democrat or any of the kind of nonsense. You can choose. It is pseudo freedom. Why do it is called pseudo freedom? Because a mind, if you choose to be a Hindu religion, your mind is full of Hindu thoughts. If you choose Muslim, everything you will look at from that filter. If you choose the political party, Democrat, you will choose everything from that filter, because your mind will be conditioned. A mind which is full of thoughts of any kind, political or religious, is not free. If you have lived 50 years and your mind has been conditioned by your parents and the teachers and the society, do you think you can choose? You will choose out of your conditioning. That is why it is called pseudo freedom. How are you going to choose? You are conditioned already. It is like when you have hypnotized someone and you tell him to do something. And tell him, tomorrow morning you will be going to the marketplace and you will purchase a certain kind of a particular item, a particular brand of maybe a smartphone. He can suggest this to the person in deep hypnosis. Tomorrow morning he will get up and he has no idea that he is going to purchase a certain brand of smartphone in the market. But the conditioning has entered into his unconscious and has been put in the unconscious. His conscious mind is unaware of it. This is how the conditioning is. He will not even have any idea of why is he going to the marketplace, but he will find some kind of a rationalization. He will say, let us go for shopping today. Why today? He will say, that is my freedom. Whenever I want to go, wherever I want to go, I will go. You are no one to prevent me. This is my freedom. And he is unaware, completely unaware that this is not the freedom at all. He has been hypnotized. Another name in case of an ordinary individual, it is conditioning. Conditioning is a sort of hypnotism. He will go to the market. He may not even think for a single moment that he is going to purchase a particular brand of smartphone. He goes, he has not used a smartphone and is thinking and thinking about it. He goes to the shop and says, give me this particular brand of smartphone. Why Apple? Why not Samsung? Why not any other brand? Again he will say, that is my choice. I am free to choose. And he will purchase the Apple phone. And he remains free, at least in his idea. But this is not freedom in the sense of a Buddha. This is conditioning. Each one of us is conditioned as a Hindu, a Christian, a Mohammedan, as an Indian, as a Chinese, as a German, as an American. How can you think that you are free? You have been conditioned by your parents, by your society, by your neighborhood, by your school, by your college, university. It is said, I am an Oxford Don. That's a phrase which is often used. Those who go to Oxford. I'm an Oxford Don. I am a Harvard scholar. Must use MITian. These kind of phrases are used. This freedom is pseudo. It is bogus. It only gives you the feeling of freedom and makes you happy. Otherwise, there is no freedom in it. When you go to the church, you are going out of your freedom. When a Hindu goes to temple, he is going out of freedom. Look into it. You will find it is not out of freedom. You have been born in a Hindu family. Sometimes it can happen. You are born in a Christian family and you still want to go to a Hindu temple. That too is a conditioning. But conditioning of a different kind. Maybe your parents were too Christian, too much. And you could not absorb all the nonsense that they had been putting into your mind. There is a limit. You were antagonistic and you started rebelling against it. You become a reactionary. They used to pull you to the church against your will, and they were so powerful that, and you were a small child. You could not do anything. You were helpless. But you were always thinking, I will show you one day. Let me become powerful. The day I become powerful, you stopped going to the church. You go to the temple out of reaction. Now this idea that I will show you have been implanted by their obsession with the church or the mosque or the temple. Again, it is hypnosis. In the reverse order, but it is hypnosis. You are reacting. You are not free. Reaction is not freedom. If you want to go to the church, you will not be able to go. You will find yourself pulling away. You will not go because this is the church of your parents. Parents used to go there. You cannot go to the church and you become a Hindu or a Muslim. Most of the time, when somebody changes the religion, it is because of these reasons, that your parents have been too strict, too regimental in taking you to the place of their worship, that I am a Hindu, so you must follow that. You start doing things which your parents never wanted you to do, just to show them this is reaction, not freedom. The first is obedience, the second is disobedience, but there is no freedom in either. Going to the church with the parents or disobedience. And one thing more, it is not only a question of conditioning that you are not free. When you choose between the two things, maybe nobody has conditioned you about those two things. There are millions of things. For which you have not been conditioned, but you were conditioned only about these two. When you choose between the two, your choice is out of confusion. Out of confusion, there can be no freedom. You want to marry this girl or that girl. How are you going to choose? Your choice is out of confusion. This is what goes on happening with the people. Confusion arises because you are motivated. Maybe you had a choice of two women. You are a person of music. One was poor and ugly, but she was a good singer. The other had the money. She was good looking. There is no love. You are torn. If love is there, passionate love, there would be no choice. The passion itself will decide. You would not be choosing, you are torn apart, but people are not that intelligent enough to know what it is. They are very lukewarm, so, and they go on living their life like this. The real freedom comes in when your life becomes so total in each moment that there is no need to decide. It is not your mind, it is not your conditioning that decides. It is that totality the existence decide, do you follow me? The totality itself decides. You are facing two alternatives, whether to marry this woman or that. Your heart is totally with one. There is no motive, so you are not divided. There is no confusion. If you decide out of confusion, there is conflict. Confusion takes you into deeper state of confusion. Never decide about anything out of confusion. That's why sometimes in that moment of confusion, we seek the opinion of the master. And master, instead of answering you, tells you a way, tells you to do your prayers, or after the prayers or meditation, whatsoever comes to your mind, let that be the way. Chooses a way for you. Krishnamurti goes on talking about choicelessness. Choicelessness is freedom. It's not that you do not have a choice. You do not choose. You simply become totally intense. You just become absolutely alert, aware and attentive. For example, you are listening to me. You can listen to me in a lukewarm way, half asleep, half awake, yawning, thinking 1,001 things, planning, maybe conditioning at times surfaces. The last night hangover is still around, and you are listening to. Then there is a question of whether I am telling you truth or not. If you are passionately listening, you are utterly here now in that moment. That very passion will decide. In that intensity, you will know what truth is. If I say something which is true, it will immediately strike in your heart, because you had been intelligent enough, so you cannot miss it. It is your intelligence which is so alert and awake at that moment when you are listening to what I said. You cannot miss it. And there is something, if there is something which is not true, you will see it immediately. The vision will come instantaneously, immediate. There will be no decision on your part whether to follow this man or not. You are listening to me in total awareness. That very moment, if I say something which is truth, it will immediately sink into your heart. Not even a single moment's lapse will be there. If it is not, your intelligence will know it. It is not out of confusion. You have not listened, you have seen me. See the point of it. With truth, you need not agree or disagree. Truth has to be heard totally with sensitivity. That is all. And the very sensitivity will decide. You see, you immediately feel the truth in it. In that very feeling, you move into truth. Not that you have agreed and then you have moved. Not that you have disagreed. Not that you are being convinced by me or I have convinced you. You have not been converted by me. I am not speaking to convince you into what I am saying. I am not trying to convert you to my point of thought. I am not converting anyone. Whatever you are perfect. Truth, it is not that I am converting you. It is the truth that converts. And truth is not belief. It is not an argument. Truth is a presence. Truth is a presence. If you are aware, if you are present, you will feel it. If you are not present, you will not feel it. So on the third stage of evolution, that is noosphere, the freedom is pseudo. It is out of confusion. It is out of conditioning you decide. And the confusion goes on growing. Confusion becomes conflict because there is always two sides in you, to do this or to do that, to be or not to be. And whatsoever you decide, the other side always remains waiting for its time to take revenge. Freedom happens only in the fourth stage. That's what the Buddha found. That Sariputra is on the borderline of the third. If at this stage he is not taken into the transcendental, the fourth, he will never be able to come out. So, Heart Sutra is a journey from the third noosphere, a state of pseudo-freedom to freedom. Sariputra was lurking in a state of pseudo-freedom, conditioned freedom. And Buddha takes him out of this pseudo-freedom to absolute freedom. Charles calls it Christosphere. It is fourth. With Christosphere, with Buddha sphere, with Krishna sphere, or whatsoever you can call it, no mind comes into existence. No mind of a Buddha, no mind of a Christ, not of a rock. With the fourth comes consciousness. Without a center in all the others, you act out of a center. Ego becomes center. Sometimes anger becomes your center. But with the fourth comes consciousness without a center. There is no self in it. Just pure consciousness, the borderless, the infinite, You cannot say that I am conscious. That's why Buddha said it is wrong to say that I am enlightened. Instead, he says enlightenment is the moment an individual becomes enlightened, he realizes that the entire cosmos is enlightened, is filled with light. He cannot say I am conscious. A Buddha cannot say I am enlightened. There is no I to it. It is just pure consciousness. No name, no form. It is nothingness. It is emptiness. With this consciousness, thinking is not needed. You act out of thinking. Your decision comes out of thinking, the process of thinking. Thinking is a process. Buddha speaks out of consciousness. And when you start acting out of consciousness, insight comes in. Intuition flares up. Intuition starts functioning. Intellect lives on tuition. Others have to teach you. That is what tuition is. There are two words, tuition and intuition. You like to tute. Intellect lives on tuition. Others have to teach you. That is what tuition is. And intuition is when there is no one to teach you. Absolutely no one. It comes from within. It grows out of you. It is your freedom. It is your fragrance. It grows out of you. It is the flowering of your being. It is the quality of consciousness that is called meditation. The quality of consciousness that is called meditation. That is called intuition. That is called insight. Consciousness without a center. Timelessness. You can call it now. You can call it present. But remember, it is not the present between past and future. It is the present in which past and future both have disappeared, both have dissolved into it. Pierre de Chardin calls this omega point. Buddha calls it nirvana. Mahavir calls it moksha. Christ calls it God the Father. These are different names. The entire sutra is concerned with the movement, the heart sutra. Prajna Paramita Hridayam Sutra is concerned with movement from the third to the fourth, from noosphere to Christosphere, from intellect to intelligence, from self-consciousness to no self-consciousness. The third is like waking, ordinary waking. The fourth is what Patanjali calls it as Turiya, the fourth. He has not given it any name. That seems very beautiful. Call it Christosphere. and it looks Christian. Call it Krishna is fair, it looks like Hindu. Call it Buddha is fair, it looks like Buddhist. Patanjali is very, very pure. Gurdjieff is very, very pure. He simply calls it Turiya the fourth, that contains everything in it. He has not given a particular name to it. For the three, he has given names. They have form. And whatsoever is the form, in relation to that name is relevant. Formless cannot have any name, Turiya, the fourth. This entire Prajnaparamita Sutra is about movement from third to the fourth. Sariputra is at the peak of the third, wakefulness, the noosphere, the reflection, the thinking, the self-consciousness. He has traveled to the utmost, the ultimate in the third sphere. He has reached the maximum, the ultimate of it. There is no more to it. He is standing on the borderline. Therefore, Buddha says, Sariputra. Buddha is standing beyond the boundary and calling Sariputra forth. He is standing beyond that. Sariputra has reached the ultimate of the third, the stage of wakefulness. There is nowhere to go beyond this state of wakefulness. Buddha is standing beyond the boundary and calling Sariputra, come. Come, come, and yet come. The whole sutra can be condensed into the last sutra. All of the sutras up to now were the preparation for this, and the last sutra. Therefore, the only thing worth knowing is this. This is the conclusion. The last sutra is in kind of a Sanskrit. Thus much is a little difficult for me to pronounce. This is far superior a dialogue than existed between Arjuna and Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Because Arjuna says something, it is verbal. Arjuna is more like a student than like a disciple. He becomes a disciple only at the very end. When he becomes disciple, Krishna becomes the master. If the disciple is not a disciple, how can master remain a master? If the disciple is still a student, then master is just like a teacher. Where Bhagavad Gita ends, that's the point at which Prajnaparamita Hridayam Sutra, the Heart Sutra, begins. Sariputra is, as a disciple, is utterly silent. He has not uttered a single word. He has not asked a single question as compared to what Arjuna keeps on asking the questions. And Krishna responds. His questions are coming out of a state of his mental confusion. And Krishna is trying to remove his mental confusion first. Where Gita ends, from there Prajna Paramit Hridayam Sutra begins. Sariputra as a disciple is utterly silent. He has not uttered a single word. He has not asked a question. He comes and sits down. Buddha sees his inner state, and Buddha has not spoken anything. It is a silent communion. It was Anand who had given it the words, who had given the words to the formless. He is a guest, not a questionnaire. His whole being is asking, not only his mind. Arjuna's mind asks. Sariputra's entire being is asking. He is not verbalizing. His existence is a question mark. He is standing before Buddha. His whole being is thirsty, is on fire. Seeing that state, Buddha goes on saying things on his own. Not that disciple, not that Sariputra has asked. The master knows when the disciple needs. The master knows when and what the disciple needs. The master knows far better than the disciple himself can know or decide for himself. The disciple has to wait. Maybe Sariputra has waited for many, many years, almost 20 years, for this moment when Master will see his need. When Master would feel his hunger. Buddha has felt the hunger in Sariputra, has felt the thirst in Sariputra. Then he would, Sariputra is worth receiving a gift from the Master. Prajna Paramit Hridayam Sutra is a gift from Buddha to humanity via Sariputra. The day has come. The fourth moment has come. Tasmaj Jnanatavyam. Buddha says, therefore, O Sariputra, this is the only thing worth remembering. And now he condenses his message into few small words, into a small sentence, into a mantra, into a maxim, into a formula. This is the greatest mantra which Buddha has contained all that is needed for the entire journey. He has put everything into this. And therefore, the only thing worth remembering is this Prajna Paramita, the great spell, the spell of the great awareness, the utmost spell, the unequaled spell. And the formula, he says, let me not rush on this for today. Let me go into it more in detail so that it will not be hastened in tomorrow's session when he says the most important line, Gate gate paragate parasangate bodhi swaha. Gate gate paragate parasangate bodhi swaha. With that, Buddha ends his sermon. I will take a little more time to go into this, the last stage. The beginning is important, and how you end is also very important. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant and aware day. Until then, take care.